Hello? Hello?
Good evening.
Hi.
Good evening.
Hey, Rick.
Hello. I'm missing my better half. Turn
You
off
know,
the TV.
it would have helped if you spelled my name right.
Oh, he's all dressed up. Look at Fred there.
He thinks it's Halloween.
Oh, that's all right. He looks great in his uniform.
This is the original uniform I was issued in '64.
I don't believe it still fits.
Yeah,
Yeah.
lucky you.
It's Bernie.
Fred, get closer so we can see it.
Okay,
You have it?
back when they made you wear white
Yeah,
t-shirts.
Fred is wearing,
Did we have come in uniform?
Yeah,
From
I
one
was
server to another.
for 10 years.
You have to say something so they'd see you.
Hey, Ben.
Good evening.
Hi, Bernie.
Hi.
Hi.
hey, guys.
Make this.
Hello.
Hi, Barry.
How's it going?
I hear Gail.
I'm here. Hi.
Brad,
Hi,
Shabbat
Gail.
shalom.
Colonel, it's a wonderful
Hi,
brag.
Rabbi Robinson.
It's a wonderful thing that you can still fit that uniform. You should get together. You should get together with your basic courses
You have to back it up.
and have them just
You're missing
envy you.
Jerry Goodman. He's another one that fits into his uniform.
The light is not good.
Wow.
Yeah. No, sideways.
Uh,
Wow, that's fabulous.
Light.
Yes, we should mute if you're not speaking, please mute yourself. And Bernie Gerber, I just changed your name from Carol to Bernie. I recommend turning your phone horizontally. You'll be able to see everyone else better.
The problem, I'm using my wife's phone and it doesn't work that way.
Never mind then, you stick with it.
Yes.
The dog in the back.
Rabbi Glickman, I'd like to say a few words at the beginning, if you don't mind.
Absolutely, and I want to point out that Rabbi Robinson is here on
Oh,
this.
that's wonderful. Hello, Rabbi Robinson.
I'm showing you, I had a facial surgery for some skin cancer, so you only get to see my right side, not
Oh,
my
okay.
wrong side.
Well, I'm
Is
glad
there
everything went
Excuse me?
well. Okay, let me say, all right. Okay, I'll start with my opening remarks, okay? Shabbat Shalom, and welcome to our annual Veteran Shabbat service. I am the co-chair of Temple Emanu-El's annual Shabbat service, but under the tutelage of Ethel and Dick Gross, who have
You
done
can
a
mute it.
phenomenal job.
Mute.
It is so wonderful that every year Temple Emanu-El honors the members of our temple who have served in the armed forces, and we are truly grateful for your military commitment. At this time, we would like to thank Rabbis Brenner and Elaine Glickman
Can't do it.
for their tour and for the beautiful service tonight, as well as Rabbi Michael Shen. Also to the beautiful voice of Dan Cartledge, and a special thank you to Rear Admiral Rabbi Harold Robinson for your beautiful, beautiful sermon. It was so moving and very, very touching, and especially on this special Shabbat. I also want to thank our fabulous office staff who never let us down. And finally, last but not least, I do want to take this opportunity to thank Ethel Gross, who is so efficient and such a pleasure to work with. But most of all, I want to thank you, our veterans, for serving our country with dignity, honor, and bravery. Thank you, and God bless you. And now I will call upon Rabbi Glickman and Rabbi Sheffrin to say a few words. Yes.
I felt like we did. This is time for our veterans.
I have a request if it'd be okay. And first of all, Rabbi Robinson, it's wonderful to see you. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for your beautiful words tonight. And thank you all who are here, who served and supported those who served. As we said so many times tonight, thank you. But I have a request. Could we all take a photo? Could we take like a Zoom photo with everybody that's here right now? I wonder if maybe we could all wave or salute or something where we might take a nice photo as a group. Would that be okay with everybody?
Yes, and I'm going to request that if people can lean in, like Jan Rosenberg and Barry's doing great, but Steve Simons, the most you can lean in,
It's okay, Jan,
so
we
that
love
can
you.
be seen. Are you taking it, Rabbi Shefrin?
I just took one. Let's see how it came out.
All right, good.
That's nice. That's nice. Thank you. Oops.
I just want to interject that the reason I was speaking at Hebrew Union College back when Rabbi Shefrin first met me was to point out that today we still have about 10,000 American Jews serving in the U.S. Armed Forces. And people frequently don't believe that there are still Jews serving in the U.S. Armed Forces. And not only Jews, but family members, because family members serve as well. And, we're none of us surprised when we meet a Korean War veteran, Vietnam War veteran who's Jewish. But please keep in mind that there are 10,000 Jews serving today in far off and dangerous and very lonely places. And we owe them a great deal because far too often they're forgotten.
Well said.
That's my pitch.
Rabbi, we have a member who is not able to get on to the Zoom link. What do we do?
Who's that?
Alvin Morris.
I will call Al and Susie while you all talk.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks, Rabbi Shefrin.
Of course.
So veterans, this gathering is for you. So go ahead and unmute if you want to share some words, or if you have any questions for Admiral Robinson, whose service was with the Marines and the Navy throughout his many decades. And then interestingly, upon his retirement, he took on a position where he oversaw all of the rabbis of all the armed forces. So there isn't a branch that he has not had his hand in, even your branch. So go ahead and unmute and say as you wish, or if you want, we can make breakout rooms if you'd rather be in smaller groups of 4 or 5 where it's easier to talk.
Well, Rabbi, since some of us don't know each other, I thought it would be nice if we would introduce ourselves, find out what branch of the armed forces they served in and where and when.
Absolutely. So we invite people to go ahead and unmute and introduce yourselves. Ike, it looks like your hand's up first, and then Jan.
Yeah, Ike Koziel. I was a major in the United States Air Force stationed at Lakenheath, England, as a surgeon in the medical corps.
Jan, then Howie.
Jan Rosenbaum. I was a forward observer in the Army in Vietnam.
Howie Friedman. I served in the Army, stationed in Okinawa for 15 months.
Raise your hand.
Was a secretary to the lieutenant colonel in charge of the Army base there.
We're going to, Lowell Lakritz has his hand up, and then Bob Molino.
I served in the United States Air Force as a captain, as a dentist. And I have a grandson who's also a cadet in the Air Force. He's an ROTC and will be commissioned as a second lieutenant next year.
Raise your hand.
Here, here.
Raise your hand.
Bob Molino, are you able to introduce yourself?
Yes, I can hear. I served in the United States Coast Guard in an island in the North Bering.
Oh, I'm in here. How about that?
Hey.
Somebody else in the Coast Guard there?
Semper
no.
Paratus, Bob. Semper Paratus. I have a little bit of service as a chaplain to shallow water sailors.
Is he putting in a dig?
No,
Let's have
no, you know.
Fred Crane and then Rich Goldman. Fred, you're going to have to unmute. I had to mute you because Betty was telling you to raise your hand. Actually, Rich, why don't you go and then Fred?
Yeah, I served in the Navy back in the 60s during the Cuban Missile Crisis and was stationed in Iceland and then in Washington, D.C.
Keflavik, nice.
Keflavik.
The Rock.
Right.
You were a Navy doctor.
Fred Crane, and
I
we'll
was
keep it in the family, then Bernie Gerber.
I was in the Air Force, a captain in the Air Force, as a dentist in Randolph Air Force Base in San Antonio, Texas, during the Vietnamese War.
Bernie Gerber, and then Fred Tebow.
I was U.S. Army, Fort Knox, most of my time. Regimental statistician, G1, and I made sure your gold was safe.
Good job.
It's still safe?
Fred Tebow, then John D'Ambrosio.
Okay, so I'm Fred Tebow, and I'm proud to say that my dad and my father-in-law both served in World War II.
Wow.
I served 33 years total service, combination of Guard, Reserve, and 20 years of active duty retirement. I was infantry and special forces most of my service, and had a wonderful time. And then both my children have also served a minimum of 4 years in the Armed Forces.
Air Force. Wow.
In United States Air Force. But I'm Army. That's it.
John, and then Don Malowski.
Hi, my name is John D'Ambrosio. I served in the U.S. Army from 1970 to 1973.
And Don, and then Barry Gerber.
I'm Don Malowski, and I served in the United States Army from 1961 to 1963. One little memory, my father was too old to be drafted in World War II, but a lot of Jewish men at that time, our family members certainly, joined the National Guard and served in that manner. And I think they should be recognized as well, all the men and women who served throughout the years.
Barry Gerber, then Ben Klein.
I'm Barry Gerber, served in the U.S. Army, stationed in Fort Eustis, Virginia.
Ben
I
Klein.
served in the U.S. Army from 1953 to 1955.
Thank you, Ben. Al Morris, and then Howie Friedman.
Okay, well, I joined the United States Naval Reserve in 1951 during the Korean War, and then went on active duty in 55, 56, and we took the Marines to Beirut, Lebanon during the Suez Crisis in 1956. I don't know if any of you were around doing that as well. My commission for lieutenant commander came up, and I said I was want to do pediatrics, and they said we have no need for pediatric dentists in the Navy. So I turned in my commission at that point and went on to Children's Hospital in Philadelphia and became a pediatrician.
How many are on it?
I'll find out in a minute.
Howie Friedman, and then Paul Hamburg.
I served in the U.S. Army 1957 to 59. I was a specialist, and I served I was sent to Okinawa for 15 months there, not during the war.
I served in the Israeli army
I want to thank
as a army troop carrier driver. And we served in Gaza, in the Negev, and along the Lebanese border.
Wow.
Mark Peltz, and then the Grosses.
He has to unmute.
That's all right. Why don't we go to Ethel and Dick?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Well,
Can you hear me? Yes. Although I didn't serve, I'm here to honor all the Jewish veterans and applaud them for all of their service.
Thank you.
so I wanted to thank Phyllis and Barbara and Mark for, I hear them breaking up, but I wanted to thank them for representing our congregation, honoring our veterans tonight. You know, Dick and I have been doing this, I think this is our 10th year, honoring our veterans during a Veterans Shabbat. And, you know, it just keeps getting better and better. And so I'm so honored to do this event. And I want to thank Betty for helping me organize and get things under control. Thank you.
My pleasure.
And Paul, it looks like you just came on.
I think Paul Wax, yeah.
Yeah, Paul, did you want to introduce yourself?
Muted.
He's muted. Paul, I don't know if you can hear us.
I can hear you. I can hear you. Thank you, Rabbi. Yeah, my name is Paul Wax. I'm a member of the congregation for 1 year and a couple of months. Well, my wife is Risa Marlin.
Hello.
Hello. I served in the U.S. Army Signal Corps, headquartered out of Long Binh, outside of Saigon in Vietnam. And I also served while I was there, Thailand, Cambodia, and Laos. So it was a long, strange trip. I'm glad I'm back.
We are too.
And my thanks to every one of my fellow veterans here for showing up, and God bless us all.
I have a question. I have one question. Do we have any women veterans in the temple?
What? We had one, but we no longer do.
Oh.
I want you to.
Look like you because you're looking up.
No, I'm not looking up this ceiling.
And Steve Simons? Oh, you just muted yourself,
I want to get in
Steve.
the picture and move over.
Steve, can you unmute? Steve Simons? You need to hit unmute.
Unmute.
There you go.
Am I on?
Yes.
Oh. Steve Simons. I was with Naval Intelligence. I was a cryptologist, 64 to 67. And I'm a patriot.
Thank you, Steve. I think we gave everybody a chance. Did we miss anybody that I can't see? Fred Bloom seems to be on, but I don't see his picture. But hello, Fred Bloom, and thank you for your service. And we have our special guest, Admiral Robinson, and I encourage if any of our members have any questions for him or any remarks you want to make to him. He was in charge of all Jewish chaplains for years and years. One of the things that I found most wonderful about that is he was a Reform rabbi who had to certify the credentials of any rabbi of any denomination. So Orthodox rabbis who wanted to be Jewish chaplains in the armed services had to go to Rabbi Robinson and prove themselves that, you know, legitimate. And he was the one who would determine whether or not their ordination and I just thought, wow, there's only in America.
Well, and the rest of the Only in America, back in 1974, when my credentials needed to be certified, it was an Orthodox rabbi, a graduate of Yeshiva University, that was credentialing me. So that it really is unique to the armed forces. We published a prayer book 5 years ago that was certified by the Reform movement, the conservative movement, and the Orthodox movement for use in worship. It is the only prayer book in the world certified by Hara Persons, the then publications chair of the Reform movement, and Rav Gedalia Schwartz, who was the Av Beit Din of America on the Shlita, on the American side, on the Orthodox side. It could only be in the American Armed Forces. I just want to interject one thing that Don was talking about, the National Guard and the reserves. When we were serving in Iraq and Afghanistan, almost 45% of every soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, or coastie was a reservist or a National Guard. 45%. And these are people that weren't going to get a active duty 20-year pension. They were going to be plucked out of their home context for 6 months or a year and sent out, come back home for 2 or 3 years and go do it again. So Don, you were, I think, spot on when you talked about honoring the those members of the armed forces who serve and then reserve as reserves. Pardon the pun.
Thank you.
Admiral, is it possible for those words of Rabbi Gittleson to be given to every politician that ever decides the fate of people in the military?
Well, you know, Ike, can I call you Ike? I don't,
Yes, please.
I don't
That's
mean
fine.
to diminish Major Ike.
Well, I don't know. Maybe I outranked some of you here, but I think we're all equal at this point.
Yeah, we certainly are. We used to joke that civilian outranks all the rest of us. So we called all the civilians sir. You know, one of the fascinating things about America is that you couldn't have gotten elected to a school board. You couldn't have gotten elected dog catcher in 1954 had you not served in the United States military. If you didn't serve, unless you'd been in your 40s and before the war, had aged out somehow, service in the military was the sine qua non of political success. And yet, just 10 or 15 years ago, we had gone from over 70% of members of Congress having served. And many of us remember that there were many members of Congress who actually had reserve commissions, Barry Goldwater famously, but many others. 15 years ago, we were down to about 10% of the American Congress who had any service whatsoever. And that's now coming back. We now have more and more members of Congress because of the post 9/11 circumstance who have military experience. Famously, Tammy Buckwith, who from Illinois, who lost both of her legs today, the 13th of November, 15 years ago. But she's one of many. We have congressmen from Massachusetts and from Georgia, who from all over the country.
And some Jewish women who are elected to the House of Representatives who are military veterans. And there are some CIA veterans and some others who serve their country in different ways.
Right. So, I mean, we're coming back to that understanding. But the sad or fortunate, depending upon perspective, is that right now, less than 1% of all of America serves in the United States Armed Forces. Now, in World War II, we had 19 million, mostly men, under arms in a country of 150 million. So if you do the arithmetic, that's way over 10% of everybody, of every man, woman, and child of any age who were in uniform all at the same time. And today we have less than 1%. This congregation's bringing you all together is such a blessing. And it's such a special thing that that your rabbis have done, and that Betty has done, and her committee. It's such a special thing because it doesn't happen at so many congregations. But we really are missing, we the 99% of America that doesn't serve are missing the deep and profound connection with those who serve and who can, anybody in World War II would say, my brother, my uncle, my son, my husband served. And that just doesn't happen. Now I'll give you the most dramatic statistic to me. Of those between 18 and 28, which is when we would bring people, 18 and 29, when we would bring people into the armed forces, less than 30% meet eligibility standards, either because of lack of education or because of medical issues. Often it's nothing more complex than obesity and diabetes related to that. A prior criminal activity and gang activity. So over 70% of Americans of military age have become ineligible to serve. To me, that's a frightening statistic. However, I want to put out there, wouldn't it be nice if we found other ways for everyone to serve 1 year before they went to college? We want to talk about forgiving college debt. Hey, go to college after a year of service, whether it's urban or ex-urban or national park. None of us remember the WPA, but 1 year of service to America. Does Lowell remember the WPA? The Works Projects Administration, for those who don't, the people who drained the swamps and built the bridges as a form of infrastructure work during the Depression. Wouldn't it be wonderful? One of the things, I'm giving you a sermon, I apologize. But wouldn't it be nice if you had some kid from Sarasota, some 19-year-old who had to serve with some kid from Minneapolis and get to know each other in a way that just doesn't happen? Or maybe even just some kid from a different neighborhood across town that would never meet the person from across town.
Well, the Israelis did that. In Israel, it's the great equalizer for everyone to serve together. That's right. Thank you. Thank you.
My wife served as an Israeli paratrooper, so I married up.
Yes, sure, Howie, go ahead and speak.
Admiral, I suspect you've been preaching to the choir.
Rabbi Robertson, I want to thank you for mentioning the friendship you make in the Army. My Army buddies were were not just buddies, they were brothers. And we lived together, we slept together, we ate together, we did everything together. And they came from all parts of America. I came from New York. They came from Detroit and Chicago and Pittsburgh. And we had a terrific friendship and went on for years and years and years. We went to the weddings and so on. And I love those guys.
I even like some Yankee fans. I'm from Boston.
Well, there's no substitution for standing in ranks and pouring down rain and being ordered to give me 20 and make sure your nose touches the puddle. And when you've done that, it prepares you for the rest of your life.
I remember when I was in basic training, we had on Saturdays, the drill sergeants would come out and say, okay, all you Jew boys, drop out and go to church. So we went and we had a rabbi. He was a captain. His last name was Kaplan and he was a chaplain. So he was Captain, Chaplain, Kaplan. And he wound up in Vietnam, in Saigon with us eventually. So Rabbi, Captain, Chaplain, Kaplan, wherever you are, we hope you're around.
By the way, we've lost 14 chaplains in active service. 14 rabbis. Over 150 chaplains, but 14 rabbis. Two of whom perished in Vietnam, Paul. Not a Rabbi Kaplan, but we lost 2 in Vietnam.
I remember the JWV putting on a very big Passover gathering for us when we were in Fort Jackson. And if I may just take just a few minutes, I'll make it as quick as possible. Part of my tour of duty, I had to build a radio station on top of a mountain between 2 valleys. And one of the natives who was with me, who we had working with us, he was on the tower with me. And I was wearing nothing from my waist up. So I had a mezuzah hanging on my neck. And he looked at me, he said, hey, he said, GI, he said, your cloth is broken. I said, no, it's not broken, it's a mezuzah. He said, what mezuzah? He said, what that? I said, well, mezuzah means I'm Jewish. He says, Jewish? He said, I don't know what you mean by that. So I went down to the bottom of the tower and in the sand with my knife, I drew a picture of a crucifix and I pointed to one of the other guys that was stationed with me, Walton. And I said, Walton's Christian, right? You see that? He's Christian, right? He says, oh yeah, that's right, that's right. And then I drew a picture of a man squatting with his arms and legs folded. And I said, that's Buddha. I said, you're Buddhist, right? He said, yeah, that Buddha. He Christian, I'm Buddha. He said, well, what, you Jewish? So I drew a star at David and I said, that's Jewish. He said, no, that's not Jewish. He said, that's kosher. I looked at him, I said, what do you mean? Where'd you get that from? He says, well, before you come here, GI come here, his name is Goldman. He had package from New York City, had big piece of meat in it, had that on it. I said, what that? He said, oh, that's kosher. And that's how he learned. Anyway.
When I was in Afghanistan, I was introduced to the commanding general of the Afghan army, and the translator, who was an Afghani, tried to introduce me as the senior chaplain of the United States Marine Corps, and that didn't translate well. So he tried to go with senior rabbi of the Marine Corps, and that didn't work. And then he finally said, he is the chief. He's the chief. The chief mufti of the. He's the Jewish. He's the great Jewish mufti of the United States Marine Corps. And the guy went, "Oh yeah, absolutely." I got a second cup of tea out of it. As the great Jewish mufti of the Marine Corps.
Okay, from now on, that's how we're introducing you.
Well, we at the Jewish Welfare Board, we used to send out those salamis that you were talking about, Paul. We used to send out dried salamis. On Pesach, we sent out all kinds of Passover stuff. And on Hanukkah, we sent out all kinds of Hanukkah stuff. But on Rosh Hashanah, we sent out a care package that had one of the big salamis, you know, a big one that had been dried so that it would last. And they were something of a hit, those 5-pound salamis.
That's no baloney. I have an Air Force story. My oldest boy was born on Grand Forks Air Force Base. And we had the first bris ever performed on Grand Forks Air Force Base. We had the rabbi come out from the temple in Grand Forks, North Dakota. And the pediatrician actually performed the bris, but the rabbi said the prayers. He took a picture, and it actually wound up in the Air Force Times, the newspaper.
Nice.
The Air Force Times. The Air Force.
A tasteful picture, I hope.
Oh yes, it was a picture of
Blanket
me.
was placed just so.
That was a picture of me and the base commander and the hospital commander and the rabbi holding the certificate of the Brit Milah. That was the picture that wound up in the Air Force Times.
And who caters a bris on an Air Force base?
My wife.
That's one of the famous MASH.
Actually, here's the picture.
Oh, nice.
Linda grabbed it off the wall.
Good.
You haven't changed a bit.
Yeah, right. I was only 26 years old there, so you know.
And how is it that you have a cod on the wall behind you?
What?
Is that fish?
Oh, no, that's not a cod. It's a wall-eyed pike.
Okay.
It's actually ceramic. It's not a real fish.
Does
How'd you catch a ceramic fish?
Sculpture.
Well, I think we can all agree those were the years that we risked the most and value the most. And we can't really ever regrasp those years of wonder and discovery.
We can remember.
But we can remember. And you know the Hasidic story, when they no longer knew the place in the woods and they no longer knew how to light the sacred fire, and they no longer knew the words of the special prayer that the rabbi 4 generations before had prayed. They went into the woods and the rabbi said, I can't pray the prayer. I don't even know where in the woods it's supposed to be, but I can tell the story and that will have to be enough. And it is enough, isn't it? We all have sacred stories, very precious memories.
Amen to that.
And we trust each other with our stories because any of us who have served will understand the 10 push-ups with your nose to the puddle and all the other mishigas that goes with military service. And C rations, right? Or MREs, and trading them off.
All right, I muted him, but just a second too late.
Gentlemen, it is the witching hour. I'll
Yes,
say
it
good night,
is.
good luck to everybody and stay healthy and safe.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks for letting me join you, and my honor to all of you who served. Shabbat Shalom.
What an honor to have you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. It was wonderful.
Thank you, Rabbi.
And thank you, Ethel and Betty. Thank you, Dick and Fred. Thank you for our chairs of tonight's program.
Thank you.
Well done.
Okay, and everybody stay safe and healthy, please.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Shabbos all.
Good Shabbos.
See you at Havdalah tomorrow.
That's right. We're studying in the morning.
You know, it's funny, when we've been doing this for years, we never had this moment where, you know, because we go to the Oneg with everybody and, you know, spouses and other people, you know, it was all intermixed. This was the first time we've really had a discussion, just our veterans together.
That's nice.
I think it is. I feel like this is
It
a
is.
havara, like this.
I want you to know, I went to Publix yesterday. I couldn't find cupcakes, but this strawberry chip, red, white, and blue. So since it's a virtual Oneg, I'm going to take a bite for the veterans.
Well, share some with Fred at least on his night.
He can have the icing.
Oh, that's good.
Dan, I'm sorry we misspelled your name. What did we write?
Rosenblum.
Well, that's a lovely name.
I know, but it's not mine.
Well, have you ever considered it?
No.
I hope you will.
Okay.
So long, folks.
Good night.
Have a good evening. God bless us all. Take care.
Good night, everybody.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you all.
Everyone.
Maybe next year we need a dinner for the veterans before service.
That would be
Yeah,
nice. I would
sample.
like that.
idea.
God willing, God willing.
What
Like
a
food.
great idea.
Yes.
And I'll cook it.
You could turn the social hall into the mess hall.
Oh, that would be hysterical.
Oh, that's great. Oh, wow. To have a mess hall get together.
That
We'll
would be
just slap the food on for everybody.
Metal trays instead of plates.
With
Let's
that
do it.
kind of food.
Dick, what do you think? I think it's you know, turning the summer dinners into a new thing.
Don, what
One
should
night
we
only,
serve?
Veterans Shabbat meal.
Howie, if we served, what would we serve at dinner if to recreate the meals you got in service?
No. We
Uh,
ate.
We used to call it SOS.
SOS, yeah.
Sit on a shingle.
You know what that is? You know, shit on a stick.
I'm thinking Franks and beans. I don't know why. I feel like that.
Maybe.
Maybe. What would you have? Mashed potatoes from Flakes?
Yeah.
What you could do with a spoon.
Yeah.
I'm picturing a lot of dehydrated eggs.
Right. For us, it was different because Fred was an officer and, you know, we had our own housing. So it was a little bit more fancy. My daughter was born in Texas, so.
That's right. You were at the Air Force Base in
San Antonio, Randolph Air Force Base.
Right. That's where my grandparents were married. Right.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Beautiful
My grandpa
days.
Gene and my great grandma
Beautiful
Sophie.
days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When he stole her from home in Brooklyn and drove her back to San Antonio in the Army Jeep that he bought.
It
Wow.
was Fort Sam, Houston.
Yep.
Elaine was born on a Texas base, but in El Paso.
Okay, it was further south.
Yeah. All right.
I wish you all a good
Good night,
Shabbat.
everybody. Good
Good
job.
night.
Shabbos.
Thank you.
Well
Evan.
done, chairs. What a great night.
It was fun. Thank you.
Really, really lovely.
Thank you, Rabbi Shefrin. Great night.
Thank you,
Great
Rabbi
speaker.
Glickman.
Oh, should I end the meeting for everybody?
Yes, please do.